Because you got to have random checks. Because right now they have to wrestle over what their recount is. Well, you should have automatic recounts on, so many % of the vote just to make sure your machines are working. Because if they're not working, you don't have the right vote.
Well, you never know if the electronics or the computers are going to be doing it correctly, and if the programs are right. I guess you just have to have faith that they will be.
I think we got to make sure that all the votes are counted. I personally am committed to counting all the votes myself. I think I could do a better job than some of these machines are doing.
In my mind, silver bullet means a solution where you don't have to trust anyone. You can verify that the vote you cast was recorded accurately. You can verify that your vote was counted, and you can verify that your vote was part of the total. So you can access every single turning point, every single process point of the election process and see that my vote is going through there.
So if we have to count the paper to be absolutely sure about the machine count anyway, then what do we need the machines for in the first place?
It's a tool. It's not a god, it's a tool. Now that I'm fired, I apply for jobs, Programmer, been at NASA, worked with ExxonMobil, worked with DOT, can't find a job anywhere. I end up stocking shelves at the dollar store. So,
really?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm thinking I'm not getting a real good recommendation from Yang and DOT.
So now you're working at the dollar store.
Working at the dollar store, stocking shelves. And Lemmy shows up.
Raymond Lemmy.
Just comes in sometime, and he's staring at me over the top of these little, potato chip type holders. I walked over and said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "No, I'm just shopping." And then he leaves.
Okay.
And then he comes in again, tells me that he's been working on the case on the side.
He's looking into this on his own now?
On his own.
For fun?
I don't know.
Why? What's he going to do with this information if he's not doing it in
I
an
guess if he gets
capacity?
enough of it, he thinks he can pop it somewhere. I don't know. So he keeps coming in and asking me questions about vote rigging and spies, and I don't know necessarily what he wants, so I just answer whatever he asks. This was a big case that he was making headway on. It wasn't an official case, because officially DOT was going to do nothing, because Feeney wouldn't let him do anything. So I give him information, but he didn't give a lot back.
Was he a friend of yours by that point?
Not really. I liked the fact that he was actually working on it,
Right.
but I didn't necessarily know how much he was working on it and how much he was working on me.
And what does he say?
He's got it all ready to bundle up. He's going to pop the news in a couple of weeks, and I'll just be thrilled with the results. And I said, you better tell somebody.
You better tell someone? Why?
These people were not nice.
Clint indicated to me that Ray Lemmy had told him that it was much bigger, that what he was investigating was much bigger and went higher.
Clint said this to you?
Yes, Clint said that to me.
When he said all the way to the top, who did you think he was? Who was the top?
I was thinking Bush. I didn't know whether it was just Jeb Bush or whether it went farther than that. From Feeney's conversations, he thought he was right with Bush.
Feeney said that he was
Yes.
right with Bush.
Right. Both George and Jeb, so.
Lemmy says to you, this corruption goes all the way to the top.
Right. And all I have to do is wait a couple weeks, and I'll be thrilled with the results.
So you waited a couple weeks.
And he turned up dead in a Georgia motel room.
What he was investigating was much bigger.
When he said all the way to the top, who did you think he was?
I was thinking Bush. My first thought was they killed him.
How did you feel about that?
Guilty.
You felt guilty?
Yeah. If I hadn't brought it to him, then he wouldn't have gotten involved.
What was
They
the
don't
cause
have-
of death?
They said suicide, but they don't do autopsies in Georgia.
Did
If he died in Florida, it's an automatic autopsy.
You mean if a suicide occurred in Florida, it would be an automatic autopsy?
Automatic
But
autopsy.
a suicide in Georgia, not mandatory?
Not mandatory.
It would have had to have occurred had he been killed in, not been killed.
Well, my speculation is he offended somebody and he got killed.
You feel he got killed?
Yes. Because the hotel he was at is this real secluded, tree lines on both sides. It's a little shabby $23 a night hotel. If you wanted to kill yourself, why not stop somewhere in Florida?
He was working out of Tallahassee, Florida.
He was
right?
working out of Tallahassee. So
You were in Tallahassee at the
Right.
time. Then there's Valdosta, which is just
hour and a half away.
Hour and a half away. It's sort of a border town in Georgia.
Yeah, it's up a ways. There are a lot of hotels he could have stopped at Georgia prior to getting to Valdosta. The whole thing's just wrong. There's a report that he called into DOT at 6:45 in the morning, and yet they have him killing himself 38 minutes later, even though it's another hour to get to Valdosta. Supposedly he's in the motel room one night,
Right.
but there's 2 receipts.
In the police report, it says one is a check-in receipt, the other is a check-out receipt.
If he killed himself, he didn't check out.
Well, have you not checked into a motel room where they charge you up front? In other words, they check you in and check you out at the same time?
On different days? I don't think they do that.
Yeah, there's another problem with that. The first receipt is dated June 29, 2003. He was in Tallahassee June 29, 2003. He didn't kiss his wife goodbye, as she says, until June 30th, 2003, 6:15 a.m.
Who's in the room on June 29th? In the hotel room, they found a blank legal pad
Okay.
and an empty file folder. And every time he'd come talk to me, he'd have his little yellow pad and his little file folder full of papers.
Are you suggesting that,
The papers are gone, yes.
and you're suggesting that somebody took those papers?
Would you take a legal pad and a manila folder to a suicide?
Maybe he wanted to have write a suicide note.
No, the note's weird too, because he didn't talk about his daughter. And the daughter was just about to be married,
And he mentioned his wife
right?
by name. He has one child, a daughter.
Daughter.
He does not mention her.
Does not mention her. But every time we talked at the dollar store, part of the conversation was, how's your daughter? She's doing good. Getting married,
Doesn't mention her in his suicide note. Mentions his wife. Did he sign his suicide note?
Didn't sign it. He put a time on it.
The police say they took photographs, but due to a failure in the camera's flash memory, there would be no photographs.
Right.
We've recently seen that there are, in fact, photographs
That conflict the police report.
that do conflict the police report.
The Valdosta police report alleged there was no blood on the towel and no visible trauma to the body. The photographs of Raymond Lemmy seem to suggest otherwise.
And Valdosta police have confirmed that these photographs are real, and that due to interest on the internet in December of 2004, they reopened the case of Raymond Lemmy. Also around that time, they spoke with someone at the Florida Department of Transportation, and that they closed the case shortly thereafter. Now, they won't tell me who it is they talked to at the Florida Department of Transportation. They told me over and over and over that they were not stonewalling me, and then they didn't call me back ever again.
And remember, they're in Valdosta, Georgia. So what the hell does the Florida Department of Transportation have to do with an investigation that they're doing at a Georgia police department? So the fact that a call from someone at FDOT would lead to shutting down the investigation in Georgia, I don't know if there's anything sinister there or not, but it sure doesn't smell right.
The time to know what really happened may have passed us by. And I am not a forensic specialist in criminology or anything else, and I would not hazard a guess.
6 weeks after Lemmy died, Tom Feeney went golfing at St. Andrews in Scotland. He was the special guest of super lobbyist Jack Abramoff.
After Lemmy turned up dead and things were not moving along very well, I went ahead and wrote a book and put it out there. I hadn't even published the book, and I get this email that it says something about, like, they know about the book, don't be alone.
Are you worried about somebody taking your life?
If it's wrong, you have to do the right thing, no matter what it costs.
Aren't you just doing this to sell books? Making these outrageous claims?
No longer outrageous. Most of it's already been proven now.
Well, nonetheless,
In fact,
though,
I think you found most of the proof.